Ever found yourself at your study desk, only to be drawn to your phone a mere 5 minutes later? You open a book, reread the same paragraph countless times, yet nothing seems to stick. You try to concentrate, but your mind wanders, disengaged. You understand the necessity of studying, but the motivation eludes you. And even when focus briefly takes hold, the learning feels painfully slow. Meanwhile, you watch others. They seem to absorb information effortlessly, studying less, but remembering more. They grasp complex ideas from a single video, ace exams with minimal notes, and you begin to question, are they simply smarter than me? But what if that's not the whole story? What if the real barrier isn't your intelligence, but the method you employ? Imagine if learning at an astonishing speed had nothing to do with sheer effort and everything to do with understanding the inherent mechanisms of your own brain. This journey will unveil why your traditional study habits have faltered and reveal a transformative approach. It's straightforward, actionable, and once you grasp it, it might just feel like an unfair advantage. Let's rewind for a moment. Recall how you were instructed to study in school, at home, or through online resources. What was the common advice? Read the textbook, take copious notes, highlight key passages, and review everything before the test. Perhaps even add flashcards if you were feeling particularly dedicated. The truth is, this conventional approach proves ineffective for the vast majority. It's not a reflection of your inadequacy. The method itself is fundamentally flawed. Allow me to explain. Reading and highlighting are passive activities. They create an illusion of productivity, but they don't forge lasting memories. It's akin to watching someone else perform push-ups and expecting your own muscles to strengthen. Your brain doesn't develop from mere observation. It flourishes through active engagement. When you finish a chapter and think, I understand, what you're often experiencing is a sense of familiarity. Yet, familiarity is not synonymous with true comprehension, and comprehension alone doesn't guarantee memory. This is precisely why so many dedicate hours to studying, only to forget everything a week later. They're approaching learning from the wrong direction, tackling the easiest parts first and bypassing the crucial steps that actually cement knowledge. So, what actually works? Let's reverse the paradigm. Instead of merely reviewing information, let's cultivate the skill of recalling it. Your brain has a singular, ruthless objective when it comes to learning. What absolutely must be remembered and what can be discarded. If something appears inconsequential, your brain swiftly discards it. If it feels vital, emotionally resonant, or immediately useful, it holds on tight. This is the foundational principle of effective learning. Relevance dictates retention. But there's a force even more potent: retrieval. Retrieval is why actively testing yourself, even if you make errors, is profoundly more effective than passive review. Here's its secret. Each time you attempt to retrieve something from memory, your brain reinforces that neural connection. Even if you falter, even if the information eludes you entirely, the very act of trying sends a powerful signal. This matters. Keep it. This phenomenon, known as the testing effect, is among the most rigorously researched tools for long-term learning, yet astonishingly few employ it. Why? Because retrieval can feel uncomfortable. It exposes gaps in your knowledge, making you feel unprepared. However, discomfort isn't an obstacle. It's a clear indicator that your brain is actively learning. No struggle means no growth. So embrace this shift. Next time you study, don't ask, "Did I read it all?" Instead, challenge yourself. Can I recall it without looking? This is where genuine learning takes place, not in quiet reading and highlighting, but in the focused effort of struggle and recall. Learners generally fall into two categories: consumers and builders. Consumers passively absorb information. Builders actively create with what they learn. Most individuals operate as consumers. They watch endless tutorials, meticulously craft aesthetically pleasing notes, invest in new highlighters, feel perpetually busy and tired, only to find they've forgotten everything. This is because consuming times feels times productive, but your brain doesn't retain what it doesn't utilize. Builders, however, approach it differently. They translate their learning into action, no matter how small. Imagine this. After a study session, record yourself explaining the topic aloud. Sketch a diagram from memory. Teach the concept to someone, even if it's just your pet. Draft a concise, tweet-sized summary. Attempt a practice question before you feel fully prepared. This active engagement compels your brain to reorganize and transform raw input into tangible output. That, my friend, is where the true magic unfolds. The profound truth is, you don't remember what you consume, you remember what you create. So step beyond merely being a student. Start embodying the role of a teacher, even if your only pupil is yourself. Now, let's talk about time. The common misconception is that learning faster requires studying longer. This is simply untrue. Your brain isn't optimized for extended, exhausting study sessions. It thrives on short, intense bursts of focus. Here's a simple yet powerful method. 1. Asterisk, asterisk. Select a single topic. Asterisk, asterisk. Just one. 2. Asterisk, asterisk. Set a timer for 25 to 30 minutes. Asterisk, asterisk. 3. Asterisk, asterisk. Dive deep. Asterisk, asterisk. Eliminate your phone. Close unnecessary tabs, banish all distractions. 4. Asterisk, asterisk. When the timer signals the end, take a brief 5-minute break. Asterisk, asterisk. 5. Asterisk, asterisk. Perform a swift recall. Asterisk, asterisk. What did you just learn? What stuck? That's it. A single focused sprint yields more progress than hours of distracted, fragmented studying. Why? Because your brain rewards intense concentration, not prolonged sessions. It's the times quality times of your attention, not the times quantity times of your time, that truly matters. And here's the most liberating aspect. Anyone can sustain focus for 25 minutes. No excuses. Even on your busiest, most fatigued, or unmotivated days, one sprint is all it takes to advance. Once you witness the impactful results of these shorter, focused sessions, you'll never revert to your old ways. Here's a profound insight rarely discussed. Most people study excessively, yet learn remarkably little. Sounds contradictory, doesn't it? But let me clarify. We often assume that increased time equates to greater retention. Consequently, we reread everything, rewrite notes, and strive to cover every single piece of content. In doing so, we commit a colossal error. We treat all information as equally important, and it simply isn't. Some concepts you encounter will be profoundly significant, while others will barely surface in exams or in your life. The key, therefore, isn't to study times everything, asterisk, but to study the times right things, asterisk. This is known as the 80/20 rule of learning. 80% of your valuable results stem from 20% of what you study. Every subject contains core concepts, pivotal ideas that unlock the entire domain, much like finding the master gear that drives an intricate machine. If you dedicate your time to mastering these essential ideas, everything else becomes either significantly easier to grasp or even entirely superfluous. But if you indiscriminately treat all information with equal weight, you'll find yourself overwhelmed, exhausted, frustrated, and ultimately forgetful. So how do you pinpoint that vital 20%? Begin by examining past exams. What topics consistently appear year after year? Ask yourself, if I could only focus on one thing today, what would yield the greatest impact? Identify your areas of weakness, not your strengths. Remember, revisiting what you already know offers a comforting illusion of progress, but it won't propel you forward. To learn faster, stop being merely busy. Start being fiercely ruthless. Have you ever observed that if you allocate an entire day to study, you inevitably utilize that entire day, even if the task could realistically be completed in an hour? This isn't laziness, it's a fundamental principle, Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Inspective nates is at no end. In essence, if you tell yourself, I'll study all afternoon, you will. But if you declare, I have 1 hour to conquer this, your brain compresses the task. You become sharper, more efficient, more decisive. You shed the unproductive warm-up periods. These resist the urge to check your phone and banish second-guessing because the imposed limit ignites intense focus. Therefore, embrace a simple rule. Never study without a timer. Even if it's for a mere 15 minutes, make your time visible. Make it count. Because the truth is, you don't need more times, time to study. You need to treat the time you possess as the precious resource it truly is. Let's address motivation, that elusive spark. You might finish reading this, feeling inspired, ready to overhaul your entire approach. But what happens tomorrow morning? That fervent feeling often vanishes, and it's not your fault. Motivation is an emotion. It's fleeting, ebbing and flowing like the tide. If you depend solely on it, you'll remain perpetually stuck. So, what do the most effective learners rely on instead? Systems. Systems are indifferent to your emotional state. They simply operate day after day, consistently. Envision a system like this. You study at the same time each day, in the same dedicated space, with the same tools, for the same duration, employing the same effective method. It might sound mundane, but its power is immense because it eliminates decision fatigue. It transforms learning into a steadfast routine rather than an exhausting battle of wills. This is what enables true consistency, not sheer willpower, but deliberate design. So, if you're weary of falling off track, cease chasing motivation. Instead, begin constructing a system that renders studying automatic. If you truly desire to learn with extraordinary, almost unfair speed, there's one infallible technique. Teach what you learn. Immediately after concluding a topic, don't rush to the next. Pause. Pretend you are the instructor. Articulate the concepts aloud. Illustrate them with a drawing. Explain them as if to someone completely unfamiliar with the subject. Why? Because the act of teaching compels your brain to perform remarkable feats. It organizes the chaos, simplifies the complex, filters out the superfluous, and retains only what truly matters. In this active process of articulation, you etch the information into your memory far more deeply than any note-taking or rereading ever could. You don't require an audience. You don't need to be flawless. You simply need to times produce output asterisk, because input alone doesn't forge memory. Only active expression does. So, from this moment forward, before progressing, ask yourself, could I confidently explain this to someone else? If the answer is no, you haven't fully learned it yet. Most people mistakenly believe that learning faster necessitates adding more books, more videos, more techniques, more applications, more hours. But accelerating your learning isn't about accumulation, it's about radical subtraction. You don't need an arsenal of new tools, you need fewer distractions. Allow me to paint a picture. Imagine your brain as a pristine whiteboard. Each time you switch tasks, respond to a message, open a new browser tab, or check your notifications, you scribble over that whiteboard. Then, you attempt to inscribe something vital atop all that mental clutter. Is it any wonder it fails to stick? Is it any surprise your thoughts feel hazy, with no clear space left for profound thinking? Rapid learning demands mental clarity, and clarity emerges from removing friction. Start here. Activate airplane mode on your phone while studying. Utilize noise-canceling headphones or seek complete silence. Declutter your workspace, keeping only the absolute essentials. Know precisely what you intend to learn before you even begin. Less external chaos translates to greater internal focus. It may not be glamorous, but it is an absolute game changer. Every distraction you eliminate is a small act of rebellion against a world clamoring for your attention. And every minute of protected focus is a powerful vote for your future self. To truly learn faster, create ample space for your mind to breathe. Here's a secret, almost universally overlooked. If you aspire to remember more, faster, stop hoarding your learning. Embrace public learning not in a performative manner to impress, but as a discipline to force clarity. When you share an insight, elucidate an idea to a friend, compose a reflective thread, create a short video, or summarize a book, you're doing far more than just sharing. You are actively strengthening your memory. You are transforming vague notions into sharp, defined concepts. You are converting an abstract thought into concrete language, and that process immolates it into your brain. Here's the wild part. You will frequently grasp a concept more thoroughly times after times explaining it than you did during your initial study, because now it possesses structure. It resides in the tangible world, not merely within your head. So, give this a try. After your next study session, post your key takeaway in a single sentence. Text a friend and articulate the concept you just learned. Start a simple blog, even if it has no readers. Record voice notes. talking through your ideas. You don't need to be an authority. You simply need to begin expressing your learning outwardly, because the brain retains what it is compelled to defend. And when you vocalize your learning into the world, it truly sticks. Let's address the unseen dimension, the quiet, imperceptible interval between input and output. The phase where learning loses its initial thrill, where progress seems to plateau. No dramatic breakthroughs, no sudden aha moments, just profound silence. This is the juncture where most people concede defeat. They lament, "I'm making no headway. This isn't working. I must be doing something wrong." But here lies the profound truth. This silent period is precisely where deep, lasting learning takes root. It's not swift. It's not loud. It's not inherently exciting, but it is profoundly real. It's the moment your brain commences its subtle transformation from merely consuming to truly owning, from scattered fragments to structured understanding, from ephemeral short-term recall to enduring long-term mastery. But this transformation only unfolds if you persist. If you don't abandon the process simply because the noise of immediate progress has subsided, because growth isn't always conspicuously visible. Sometimes it occurs beneath the surface, much like roots forming unseen before a magnificent tree ever breaks through the earth. So, the next time you feel stuck, don't halt. You're not failing, you're merely settling in. And just beyond that, profound silence awaits newfound clarity. Allow me to pose a pivotal question. When you reflect on yourself, do you identify as someone who is times trying, times to learn faster, or as someone who times learns, times fast? This distinction, though seemingly minor, alters everything, because your brain inherently strives to align your actions with your perceived identity. If you declare, "I am a fast learner," your brain begins to actively gather evidence to substantiate that claim. Every study session becomes a vote of confidence. Every successful recall, every practice question tackled, every 30-minute sprint, even the attempts that falter, even the days you grapple with the material, all contribute. They reinforce the narrative you are constructing for yourself. This is who I am now. You aren't passively awaiting results to grant you permission. You are actively embodying the person you aspire to become, allowing your identity to organically evolve from those actions. Learning rapidly isn't solely about mastering techniques. It's about becoming the individual who no longer needs to revisit the same lesson 10 times. Someone who profoundly values their time. Someone who truly owns their learning process. And the beautiful truth is, it begins incrementally. One focus session, one challenging recall, one fleeting moment of clarity, then another and another, until one day you glance back and realize you're no longer times trying asterisk. You have fundamentally transformed. Let's zoom out to gain perspective. Here's what you now profoundly grasp. Your brain learns most effectively through recall, not repetitive rote learning. Emotion and personal relevance are the catalysts that transform information into enduring memory. Creating vastly outweighs mere consuming. Short, hyper-focused sprints consistently triumph over long, distracted marathons. Teaching solidifies understanding like nothing else. Your environment subtly yet powerfully shapes your behavior. And at the deepest level, your identity drives everything. This isn't a call to study harder, longer, or with unattainable perfection. It's an invitation to harmonize your learning methods with the intrinsic functions of your brain. You don't require endless hours. You don't need more notebooks. You absolutely don't need to burn yourself out. You simply need a system that reveres and respects your inherent biology. And now, that system is within your reach. The individuals who learn with astonishing speed are not born inherently different. They simply ceased engaging in practices that proved unproductive. They stopped frantic cramming, abandoned passive rereading, and rejected the false equivalence of time spent with actual progress made. They mastered the art of studying less and learning exponentially more. They made the process feel so rapid, so effortless, so unequivocally effective that it almost appeared unfair. But now you understand. It isn't unfair. It is simply aligned. And when you embrace this way of learning, you won't merely pass exams. You will cultivate the profound ability to master anything, swiftly and for life, without ever succumbing to burnout.